Morning, everyone. We're going to give it like one more minute, let some other people get in, and then we'll get started. Okay, looks like it slowed up a little bit. So good morning, everybody. Welcome to the August revolving topic presentation. My name is Robin Vaughn, and I'm a technical support manager with the Office of Accountability at DCEO. This presentation is being recorded and will be distributed to registered attendees after the presentation. The chat is being monitored, so feel free to post any questions in there. And the links mentioned in the slide deck will also be posted in the chat if you'd like to copy that. We will have time at the end of the presentation for any questions. This presentation is a comprehensive overview of the DCEO Help Desk. This introduction will discuss who we are, what we do, who we support, and how we deliver. We will also cover the necessary requirements to qualify for grant opportunities and a brief overview of the grant life cycle. We'll discuss how to read a Notice of Funding Opportunity, or NOFO, and how to find a grant opportunity, including navigating the CSFA. Finally, we'll talk about upcoming events and how you can participate in future training opportunities. The DCEO Grant Help Desk was initiated by the Office of Accountability in early 2023. The Help Desk's main function is to provide end-to-end technical assistance to potential and current grantees, as well as our DCEO grant staff. The Help Desk is a centralized helpline for grant-related questions from individuals and entities throughout Illinois. The goal is to provide prompt and accurate responses so that our staff are supported and our customers are prepared to be successful grantees. We operate the Help Desk daily during standard business hours. We support individuals by providing guidance on various topics pertaining to grant management system support and can refer our customers to subject matter experts to get the most accurate answers to difficult questions. We also offer live presentations through several avenues and enhance our training presentations with our video training library. On any given day, the Help Desk works through questions from these listed categories. Communications into the Help Desk are documented and categorized. This allows us to evaluate topics and questions that are frequently asked, which can help indicate areas of the grant process that need more education and clarity. Categorizing the questions allows us to track participation, narrow our search parameters, and provide uniform solutions for our clients. To give you a frame of reference of the intake that the Help Desk receives, here's a look at our 2024 Help Desk inquiries by category. As you can see from the graph, the top 3 inquiries for 2024 were audit, program-specific referrals, and pre-qualification and funding availability were tied. This data is compiled from both internal DCEO staff and external potential and current grantee inquiries. As I mentioned, Sometimes we receive questions better answered by individuals with more expertise, such as the Grant Accountability and Transparency Unit, or GATU. This is the team at the Governor's Office of Management and Budget, also known as GOMBI. We also refer to our External Audits Unit, or the designated program contact listed in the NOFO. In these cases, we will loop these individuals in for additional assistance to ensure a thorough and accurate answer is provided. We also facilitate conversations between the grantee and the grant manager. The first point of contact for a grantee should be the grant manager. Common question topics that are referred are audits, data, merit review, timelines, and NOFO-related program questions. Other topics include document completion for application or reporting. We utilize several methods for our training presentations. These methods include WebEx-based events, in-person events, and recorded events posted to our website. We offer weekly office hours every Tuesday at 2 p.m. The first Wednesday of the month, we offer pre-qualification training, and the third Wednesday of the month is revolving topic training. We also provide onboarding training for newly awarded grantees when necessary. You can find a link to our training invitation list in the chat. The video training and resources section of our website has been an area where we are focusing a lot of attention. We're updating grant-related PowerPoint presentations to a more interactive platform. We hope to grow this section to include more grant-related topics. We currently have 25 video trainings posted to this site, including 2 presentations in Spanish. If you are going through the library and have any suggestions on future topics, please let us know. The link to our training library is in the chat. How to find us. There are 2 ways to access the resources of the DCEO Grant Help Desk. You can reach out to us via email at ceo.granthelp@illinois.gov. When you write into us, please be as thorough and concise as possible. Include your GATA ID or your audit ID if you have one, and any relevant attachments. Screenshots of issues are also helpful in addressing the problem. You may also contact the help desk by completing our inquiry intake form at the help desk contact form. The form has 7 fields for information, 6 of which are mandatory. If you have a GATA ID, please include it. Forms will be sent automatically to the help desk tracker, where it will be addressed by a technical support manager in a timely fashion. You also have the option to receive a copy of your inquiry via email to retain for your records. And we may reach out to you if we require additional information to determine the best response. You can use your cell phone to scan the QR code on the screen or follow the link posted in the chat to access our help desk inquiry form. Okay, now that we've discussed how the help desk can assist our grantees in navigating the various stages of the grant process, let's discuss the stages in a little more detail with a brief review of the grant life cycle. For potential grantees, the first stage of the grant life cycle is pre-qualification. The state of Illinois has defined a set of requirements for all organizations seeking to receive grant funding. Entities who wish to do business with the state of Illinois must meet these requirements to be deemed qualified and in good standing. Pre-qualification demonstrates that an organization has met all legal requirements, obtained all necessary registrations, and has a proven track record of compliance. Pre-qualification status must first be obtained by an organization but this status must also be maintained for the entire lifespan of the grant program, or if your organization wishes to continue to apply for and receive grant funds. GATA. GATA stands for the Grant Accountability and Transparency Act, which is legislation that increases accountability and transparency in the use of grant funds while reducing the administrative burden on both the state agency and grantees through adoption of the federal grant guidance and regulations codified in 2 CFR Part 200, or the Uniform Requirements. The GATA Grantee Portal is a centralized location used by grantees, grant managers, and other administrative staff associated with grant funding. Here, grantees view the status of various procedures like indirect cost rate elections, risk assessments, and risk assessments. The GATA Grantee Portal is also where grantees will be able to review their pre-qualification status. Other requirements necessary to be deemed pre-qualified include maintaining an active and public SAM.gov account, registering with the IRS and obtaining a fee, registering with the Illinois Secretary of State and producing a certificate of good standing, and not being party to the Illinois Stop Payment List, Federal Excluded Parties List, or DHFS Sanction List. Links to all of these sites can be found in the chat. The second stage of the grant life cycle for potential grantees is the application. Writing a grant application can be intimidating. Understanding how to read the Notice of Funding Opportunity, budget, and other application documents will make the task manageable. Every grant opportunity has a corresponding Notice of Funding Opportunity. This document, is also known as a NOFO. The NOFO structure is uniform. However, the contents can vary from program to program. This document outlines all the important details of the program and how to apply. The NOFO has a correlating budget template. The budget template demonstrates the applicant's intent to spend award funds and is broken out by specific categories. Program application documents are specific to the program, but will also include standard uniform documents like conflict of interest forms, uniform application, and mandatory disclosure forms. Applicants who have been selected for an award will be contacted via email with the Notice of State Award, or NOSA. They are then instructed to access the GATA Grantee Portal to accept the NOSA. This is the first building block in the development of a formal grant agreement. A grant agreement is a contractual agreement between a grantor or funding entity and a grantee, or the recipient of the grant funding. This agreement outlines in detail their parameters, requirements, and expectations of both the grantee and the grantor. This document contains everything you need to know about your grant. The grant agreement is built upon the intent of the grant program and is informed by factors that emerge within the grant application review process. Evaluation of risk assessments, organizational structure, and track record help build the foundation of the grant agreement, having identified and mitigated any past potential weaknesses. The grant agreement is also influenced by legal factors like prevailing wage, procurement standards, indirect cost rates, and other external requirements. It is imperative that grantees thoroughly review the grant agreement and use it as a reference when implementing a grant program. It can take months to fully draft and execute a grant agreement. Grant reporting helps DCEO measure and monitor achievement of grant goals. Grant goals are established between DCEO and the grantee during the grant agreement process. All grant awards are subject to periodic reporting unless statutorily exempt or an exception is approved by the Grant Accountability and Transparency Unit at GOMBI. and it is documented in the Catalog of State Financial Assistance and the Uniform Grant Agreement. Reporting also allows DCEO to assess potential risk, measure progress of the grant-funded project, and determine the grantee's level of compliance. Periodic reporting can assure grant programs that grantees are providing accurate documentation of their grant expenditures, grant money is being spent as allocated, and grant requirements are being met. The frequency of reporting is determined by completion of the ICQ by the grantee and the PRA by the grant manager. These assessments document the entity's experience, compliance, and financial history. Reporting can also be influenced by program requirements. Grantees can find their reporting dates in the executed grant agreement. Risk assessments can help ascertain the organization's process in an effort to identify weakness. The greater the weakness of the organization's management, the greater potential for waste, fraud, and abuse. The ICQ is designed to ensure risk categories are reviewed and appropriate mitigations can be identified for inclusion in the grant agreement or in the uniform grant management, or to inform grant management. Apologize. The programmatic risk assessment, or PRA, is designed to help the grant manager review the general program-based concerns. Questions on the ICQ are related to an entity's accounting system, policies, and procedures, and their personnel. As a reminder, the ICQ is not punitive, but rather assists DCEO in providing technical assistance to ensure the grant deliverables are carried out successfully. The ICQ and PRA measure specific capabilities of the organization to meet benchmark standards. Audit reporting is an important part of receiving grant funding. Grantees are to complete audits in the GATA grantee portal. Part of the reporting process encompasses the assessment of risk and reviews an entity's financial procedures. Not completing the audit will lead to being placed on the Illinois Stop Payment List. The due date of an audit report will be based on the type of audit needed and the entity's fiscal year end date. If an entity is awarded grants from other state agencies during their fiscal year, their audit will also include those awards, along with DCEO awards. A link to the audit manual is in the slide, and it's also in the chat. The Grantee Compliance Enforcement System. This outlines a state framework for state agencies to manage occurrences of non-compliance with grant requirements. Under this system, occurrences of grantee non-compliance will be consistently processed among state agencies. Under the terms of the system, the severity of the non-compliance issue dictates the enforcement action required by the state agency. Fee and lock is enforced when a grantee is non-compliant with grant requirements. When on fee and lock, grantees will not be able to receive grant funds from DCEO or execute or modify any grant agreements with DCEO. Grantees have 15 days to resolve the non-compliant issue. If not resolved within the designated timeline, the grantee will move to the Illinois Stop Payment List. If added to the Illinois Stop Payment List, all state agencies cannot issue a payment or execute or modify a grant without proper justification. The GCES framework summary can be found at the link provided in the chat. Okay, now that you know how the grant process works and where to go for help, let's talk about how to read the NOFO. The NOFO structure is uniform. However, the contents can vary from program to program. The NOFO contains all information needed to apply for a grant. Part A of the NOVO discusses the intent of the program. Here you'll learn why the state agency has bookmarked these funds and the desired end goal. What community does this benefit? What industry would benefit, etc. Next, if there's any history for the grant program, you'll learn about it here. For instance, if the governor's office announced a new initiative early in the year, this section will discuss the initiative and the events that set it into motion. And finally, the program description covers the performance goals and measures the opportunity or measures of the opportunity. This will outline the objective of the program, what is expected of the grantee, and how success of the grant will be measured. Part B will address the grant funds and where they're coming from, which office, state agency, or if the grant is federally funded. Part B will also indicate the project start date of the grant program and the span of time that the grant will be performed. This can vary from program to program. This section will explain the project amount that the applicant can expect to receive and whether there will be multiple awards distributed. For example, the entire grant can be $5 million, but the intent to award could be between 100 and 200,000 per grantee. This also gives applicants an idea of how competitive a grant will be. And finally, an important item to review is the pre-award and application costs. This section will address whether the grantee is allowed to start spending grant funds before receiving the grant funds. We refer to this as pre-award costs. They may be unallowable, so please make special note of this section. Part C is the eligibility information. It's eligibility information and it addresses pre-qualification. Pre-qualification is required to apply for and receive grant funds. This section also outlines the types of organizations that are eligible to receive the award. It is extremely important to review this section thoroughly as it can save you time in the long run. Part D is the application and submission information, and it identifies points of contact for the grant program. You will contact this person with your specific questions about the grant program. Content and form of the application submission outlines what additional requirements or required documents are to be submitted with the grant application. We will go in. This section identifies the date and the time of the application submission deadline, in addition to where materials are to be submitted. If an intergovernmental review is applicable, it will be addressed in this section. And finally, this piece will cover if there are restrictions on how funds are to be spent. And if there are other submission requirements, they will be covered here as well. The application review is covered in Part E, information. This will demonstrate how the application materials are to be reviewed and scored. This section addresses exactly how your grant application will be graded. You're encouraged to use the criteria identified in this section to build your application. Successful applicants use the information provided to associate their entity's abilities with each of the outlined items. In this section, you will find when you can expect the announcement of the state award. But please note, the review time for the grant application can take months, and there is no guaranteed date of award announcement. Section F. When the merit review process is complete, those awarded will be notified via the Notice of State Award. If there are any administrative or national policy requirements, they will be covered here as well. Once a grantee is awarded, the grantee will be required to complete regular periodic reporting. The grantee will also be subjected to monitoring and will be required to complete an annual audit. report for every year in which they have expenditures and active awards. The grantee agreement will also contain information about those requirements. Section G of the NOFO contains the contact information for the state awarding agency and other information if applicable. Okay, so we've talked about where to go for help and how to read the NOFO. Now let's talk about how to find a funding opportunity that fits your entity's needs. DCEO has a dedicated website that houses our available funding opportunities. If you cannot locate an opportunity that fits your entity's specific project goals, you can also look for funding opportunities in the Catalog of State Financial Assistance, or CSFA. The CSFA is a listing of every available funding opportunity across all state agencies. Links to both these sites are in the chat. On the DCEO Apply for Funding page, you can locate funding opportunities specific to DCEO's mission. Here you can browse program titles, program summaries, and application deadlines. The DCEO Apply for Funding site is linked in the chat. You can click on a grant opportunity to access additional information, including the funding source, program contact, and the award range. This page contains the NOFO supplement and all necessary documents to complete the application. The second location for finding grant opportunities is the Catalog of State Financial Assistance, or CSFA. Here you can browse grant opportunities across all state of Illinois agencies, such as the Illinois Department of Transportation, the Department of Natural Resources, the EPA, or DCEO, and others. This page is searchable, allowing you to enter terms and phrases relevant to your interests. There's also an option to subscribe to a weekly mailing list to receive updates on new grant opportunities. We recommend signing up for this list. The link to sign up for the list is in the slide, but it's also in the chat. In the CSFA, you can view or browse a list of active grant opportunities and projects currently accepting applications. You can view programs operated by specific agencies, and you can browse active programs that may not currently be offering funding opportunities, but may have one in the future. Click on a grant program title to view additional information such as funding amounts, program contact, and where to download the full NOFO. Some helpful tips and resources. When you decide to apply for a grant, you should not wait until the last minute to get started. Grant applications can be lengthy and require documentation, detailed information, budget proposals, and a concrete plan to support your objective. They also require your entity to be pre-qualified, and that has several steps and can be a lengthy process. Do not submit application materials via email. On rare occasions, another format for submission, such as through the mail, may be required. Section D4 of the NOFO will indicate the method of document submission. Most of DCEO's grants are submitted via Smartsheet form. The deadline outlined in the NOFO is a hard deadline, meaning if the deadline is October 31st, 2025 at 5 p.m., applications submitted at 5:01 will not be accepted. If the grant opportunity has a technical assistance session, it's important to attend. If you're unable to attend the technical assistance session, you should make plans to watch the session recording and review the slide deck. Starting early leaves enough time to have any questions answered by the program contact. Make time to complete your application early and don't rush the process. Be as detailed and thorough as possible. As I mentioned earlier, our team is happy to offer resources in multiple formats. We offer our monthly virtual trainings for potential and current grantees. On the first Wednesday of the month, we take a close look at pre-qualification and what that entails. And on the third Wednesday of the month, as you know, because you're here, our team provides a training on one of the rotating list of topics related to grants with DCEO. Next month, we'll cover writing a grant application. We host weekly office hours on Tuesday from 2 to 3 p.m. This is a venue where you can just jump in and ask us any grant-related questions. We're also proud to offer our grantee resource page, which has been continuously developed to offer up-to-date information. And finally, GATA also has resources for important items that further explain the grant life cycle and process and like how to get into the GATA grantee portal. The link to both this site or to this site is in the chat, and you can also find our training site in the chat as well. Thank you for joining us today. We encourage you to reach out to our help desk when needed at ceo.granthelp@illinois.gov. You can also complete the help desk request form. The link to the smart sheet is in the chat. And the link to sign up for our training invitation list is also in the chat. And now I'm going to stop sharing and come in and see if there's any questions. Let me pull up the chat real quick. Thank you, Caitlin, for putting all these links in here. We appreciate you.
Robin, we've got one question in the chat. If you'd like to call on Pastor Coleman, I'm going to butcher the first name, but Pastor Coleman is has a question.
All right, let me pull you up. Pastor Coleman. I don't see Hester Coleman. Hold on one second. I must be missing her. I don't see her in here.
I got her. I'll unmute her. Him
Thank
or her. Sorry.
much.
There you go.
Yeah, good morning. I just wanted to know, is it possible that our grants can be interrupted with the federal I guess holds on some grants and programs and the programs that is it guaranteed that the money that's set aside in our state for our grants will allow us to complete our grant cycle, or is it possible that due to federal cuts, some of our grants can eventually, before the grant is over, be taken away or cut out, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Well, a lot of it depends on your funding source. But at this time, we're just informing our grantees that we don't have any notice at this time of that happening, but we are reviewing the information as it becomes available. And as we connect with our federal program contacts, and if we have any further information, we'll update grantees as soon as we know. But take a look at your funding sources, like whether your funding is state funded or has a federal requirement. Thank you for the great question, though. Is there any other questions that I'm missing? Pastor Cassia?
That's who you just called on.
Okay.
We have one.
I'm so sorry. I thought you said Hester. That's why I couldn't
Oh.
find her.
You're good. So Teresa has a question. It says, I've been trying to contact my grant manager with no luck. I am trying to close my grant. How do I move forward?
For that question, I'm going to recommend that you send us an email to the ceo.granthelp@illinois.gov, and we can help facilitate the conversation with your grant manager.
Okay, one more question in there. Thank you for providing such valuable information. I would appreciate it if you could send me the link to the application. I am an employee of Downers Grove Township.
Who is this? Let me see.
Maria
What
Sanchez.
application? Oh, there we go. Maria Sanchez. Hold on. I'm going to unmute you, Maria, and then we can talk about what application that you are interested in. Maria, can you hear me? You're unmuted. Goodness. Maria? Okay. Well, for that, I would recommend that you call or write in to our CEO, .granthelp@illinois.gov, and let us know what NOFO you're interested in, what application you want to receive more information about, and we can certainly provide that for you. Let me see. I thought I saw one up here. I'm a woman-owned franchise business. How do I look for grants that can help my business with upgraded and renovations? In the slides, you'll see that we talked about the CSFA. That would be the first place to look for information about grant opportunities. I recommend looking through for that. There's also the BEP website. I can find more information for you on that if you want to email into us at ceo.granthelp@illinois.gov and put you in contact with our BEP vendor support list and help you get connected with being a BEP vendor. Anybody else? Okay. Just so you're aware, BEP is our business enterprise program. I'm sorry, I didn't elaborate on that. And that helps our women-owned, veteran-owned, minority-owned businesses connect with entities looking for services to be a vendor. Okay. I do not see any other questions. If you have a question, I'll hang on here for a few more minutes just to make sure that I've covered everybody and that nobody gets left out. If not, feel free to leave. It was great having you here. Thanks for attending, everybody. Come back and see us again. Oh, I see one. Martina, I'm gonna recommend that you copy the chat real quick if you can before you leave, just to make sure that you have everything. But you will also receive the slide deck and the recording via email, and all the links are also in the slide deck. Martina asked if she will receive the emails for with all the links.